We're about 2 months away from the worst songs of 2023, and it's viewers like these that make it possible for me to keep doing it every year. Thank you for supporting the habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. Perhaps you're familiar with Occam's razor, the philosophy that, when searching for an explanation, you should try and do so with the smallest possible set of elements. The Simpsons would popularize its meaning as the simplest explanation is usually the right one, because most of us millennials got their education from The Simpsons. Either way, the idea is, when trying to figure out the right answer, there's no need to overcomplicate things. This, however, is simply a no-go online, where people looking for answers love to come up with the most convoluted nonsense. For these people, I wish Occam's razor was a real razor and that they'd use it to So, I'm sure you heard about British comedian Russell Brand. 4 women recently came forward with allegations of rape and sexual assault, including one that happened when a girl was 16, which, yes, is legal in England before you fucking say anything, which has sort of opened a floodgate of people saying, oh yeah, it was sort of an open secret. Female comedians would actually warn each other. Very similar to how people describe Louis C.K. Russell Brand has made a brand out of his sexual promiscuity and hedonistic lifestyle, including his former substance abuse problems. So, simple stuff, right? Good chance he was drinking or doing a lot of drugs and took liberties with women, crossing a line with some of them, as he claims he slept with over 2,000 women. No, this is all a conspiracy, actually. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, over the last few years, Russell's been pretty outspoken about Big Pharma and how rich they got off COVID, his dislike of mainstream media, and how the West has treated Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. And so, I thought it'd be fun? Yeah, sure, let's use that word. To look at a few of the different conspiracies surrounding this whole thing, and rate their plausibility based on Occam's razor. The Daily Wire just asks the question, are the sexual assault allegations against Russell Brand his punishment for questioning the left? Matt Walsh wants me to pay to read it, so we'll just assume his answer is yes. Gunther Eagleman, totally a real name and not a cowardly pseudonym, says, this is why Russell Brand is being persecuted by the left. Picture of him with Donald Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle. Case closed. And Amuse, who claims to deliver conservative takes on liberal talking points, says, censorship. Once a darling of the left, at Rusty Rockets, Russell Brand's Twitter handle, became critical of the government during COVID, and his criticisms have only grown. Now they're coming for him, accusing him of rape, abuse, and sexual assault of children. Do you think Brand is guilty? I'm gonna give this one a 1 out of 10. You know, people always ask, why didn't these women come forward sooner? If these shadowy figures who decide who gets to speak and who doesn't are coming for Brand, why didn't they do it sooner? He's spent the last 3 or so years talking about Pfizer. He made claims about ivermectin, which he actually took back. It was a year ago that he publicly went to a pro-Assange rally in London. He spoke out in favor of Canada's convoy protest. So, the left's board of shadowy figures took this long to decide on the punishment for Russell Brand. Is that it? And then, for some reason, chose the same one they apparently always choose. Guy's a former drug addict. Easy enough that they could have staged a relapse 3 years ago. Whoa-oh, he got back into the nose of cola again. Did too much. Heart exploded. Whoopsie doodle. Okay, Buckley, but explain why 4 women just all of a sudden show up out of nowhere and accuse him at the same time. They didn't. The Sunday Times spent a significant amount of time doing an investigative journalism piece based on industry rumors, found and spoke to these women over that period of time, and when they felt the piece was finished, they released it. The left didn't say, release the rape victims, one day, and boom, there they were. On top of that, this suggests that this only happens to people on the right. I mentioned Louis. Again, very similar situation, except the accusations against him were much more mild. He was just jerking off in front of them while holding the door closed. Dude's kind of a lefty in a lot of ways. He once called Trump a gross, crook, dirty, rotten, lying sack of shit and compared him to Hitler. No one was like, oh, the right sent those women after him. Because of course they didn't. This whole conspiracy hinges on the existence of some branch of political individuals who are actually competent, and we know that's absurd. Then we have this one. Interesting that Russell Brand only started shifting to alt-right shit pretty recently, like at most the last couple of years. Almost makes you think that trying to endear to other alt-right figures who would be more empathetic when he knew his allegations would come out. I'm gonna give this one a 3 out of 10. 2 out of 10 for grammar. This idea that these guys turn right-wing because they know they abused a bunch of women and that the allegations will be coming, they just don't know when, so they go, oh, I'll start saying a bunch of dumb shit I don't believe so that those rubes will believe me instead of them. The simpler explanation is, he's nearing 50 and he's an ex-addict. You ever meet an ex-addict? Holy fuck, are they insufferable. Not all of them, and hey, good on people for getting clean. But many become these ridiculous Puritans and very distrusting of all drugs. Like, here's a guy who put everything in his body you can imagine, but then he drew the line at COVID vaccines? And a lot of people tend to start becoming a little more right-leaning as they get older. You look at Alice Cooper and Dee Snider's recent comments about trans people. Like, basically, they were progressive until things progressed too far beyond their comfort level. And again, using Louis as the example, you don't need to switch teams anyway. He still sells out shows. His fans are his fans. They weren't going anywhere, no matter what people said he did. Hell, no matter what he said he did. And then we have this one from Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. Yeah, the newspaper comic. If a wealthy male celebrity has consensual wild sex with 100 women, how many false accusations of rape would be normal? Any chance it's none? Answer, 1 to 5. Oh, okay. The public is not aware of this dynamic. But you are Dilbert's dad? Oh yeah, this old poonhound knows from experience. He then says, this is not a defense of any person. Accusations have to be taken as seriously as the presumption of innocence. Okay, but it absolutely is a defense. You're flat out saying, if a famous guy had sex with 100 people, you should expect about 5% of women to be liars and claim they got raped. 1 out of 10 on this one. Scott can use this razor to remove the last remaining scraps of hair from that dome of his. Interestingly enough, Piers Morgan, who's generally considered more right-leaning, released an op-ed where he recalls an interview he did with Brand in 2006. He asked him, are you a more successful sexual predator now that you don't drink? Somewhat tongue-in-cheek, that classic British dry humor. And Russell said, yes, but I resent the word predator. I like to think of myself as a conduit of natural forces. After all, the most natural thing in the world for people to do is fuck, isn't it? And people want to do it. So all you have to do is remove all the reasons why women don't actually go through with it. Like pride and reputation. You just have to unpick the conditions stopping women going straight to bed with you. So, A, clearly being on the right didn't protect him. Piers tossed him right under the double-decker bus immediately after the allegations came out. And B, oh, Jesus Christ, does that not sound like something a rapist would say or what? You might also think, Buckley, he slept with 2,000 women. He had Katy Perry. He could get anyone he wanted. Why would he rape anyone? And I answer this question with a question. Why do so many dudes pay for OnlyFans when they can watch a near infinite amount of free porn? Because people want what they can't have. Doesn't it seem reasonable to think that a man who is very rich, very used to getting his way, could have whatever he wanted, whoever he wanted, wasn't a fan of being told he couldn't have something, and maybe sometimes took what he wanted? Nah, again, too simple. Gotta throw 17 layers of bullshit on it, and then dig through that for no reason. But you know, they could just be lying for money, as you often do by using an alias in the news story so that no one can identify you, and you don't press charges or file a civil lawsuit. Quickest way to get rich! 0 out of 10 for that one. No, a drug addict who bragged about getting women to bend to his will, who wrote books about his exploits, that he made money off of, by the way, couldn't possibly have done anything wrong. It couldn't be that simple, right? No, I guess I'm the simple one, who just can't see that George Soros and the Matrix are colluding to take down the most dangerous man in the world. a sticky-looking British comedian with a podcast.